on WSGW, an hour I've been looking forward to because we're going to talk about one of the scariest topics out there today, artificial intelligence. And we have a couple of folks with us from Northwood University to talk about it. First of all, we say good morning to Professor Kevin McCormick in studio with us.
Morning,
Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for coming in today. And with us also, who teaches master classes in business data and things like that, Dr. Atama. Dr. Atama, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us, both of you. All right. I started out saying AI is probably the scariest thing out there today because we just don't know what the limits are and maybe not how to use it properly and all of that. Would you agree or disagree, Kevin?
Yeah, I think maybe 95% we don't know. And what we know in 5%.
That's a large
yeah,
percent.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Maybe 5% we know. And every day it gets, I don't know if it gets worse or better.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Dr. Atama, how are we doing with AI? Do we understand it? Do we know how to use it?
I think with all tools out there, it's important that we read the user manual before we use them, right? So the same also goes with AI, understanding that it's a broad term for so many things. There's so many workloads out there in AI, and the fear that exists is just the lack of understanding of the tool as a whole.
Well, now we say the lack of understanding of the tool, and that's fear. But this is a tool that could be used in very negative ways, couldn't it? I mean, isn't the fear legitimate to some degree?
Well, again, as with every tool, it has its pros and cons. And so if we think about the positive use of every tool, and also understanding that education is the greatest tool out there that we can use to make a better world, then I believe that with AI as a tool, if it's harnessed for good, then it's for the best of humanity as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand the tool comparison. If I take a hammer, if I hammer a nail, that's for good. If I take it and smash something, that's not good. Then I've misused the tool. Kevin, we were talking before we went on, and I put forth the notion, well, if we don't like what AI is doing, we just shut her down. And you told me...
Yeah, they wrote a program that allows you to shut down AI, and I heard this morning that the AI rewrote the program to eliminate the ability to shut it down. So
the only answer is to pull the power cord, right? that hasn't figured out yet.
Yeah, yet. Yeah, I think, the tool aspect is, I think, too limiting because it's an intelligent tool. It gathers more information quickly and summarizes it and positions it and describes it and graphs it. And I can't believe how much more information and learning I've got over the last couple of months using tools that are focused on research, for example. It's been unbelievable.
Which is for positive results.
Well, maybe.
Well,
I might have learned something that gets me in trouble. I don't know. But, yeah, it was positive, a very positive experience. So I'm really encouraged that it's going to help learning and jack up learning to maybe 5 times what it was last year.
But what I said, and Dr. Atama, you can respond to this too, what I said was, again, just like that fork in the road, students can learn to use it as a tool for education, or they can misuse it simply to replace their education, and then they learn nothing. Dr. Atama, what do you think?
Absolutely. You're right about that. There's always that danger, but it also has immense potential to solve real-world problems, and as we are alluding here in education. And I think the key is understanding the measures of education. How do we measure success? So thinking about the level of critical thinking that is expected from every learner. And the question we ask is, with every new evolution of man, what are the dangers and how can we harness these tool and not lose sight of the focus in terms of critical thinking. Can generative AI, for example, enhance critical thinking amongst our learners? So and does that mean that we need to change the way the curriculum is designed in order to really use these tools well? Because the key is responsible development, transparency, and think about how the public would generally engage, and by public I mean the students, generally engage with tools like generative AI in the classroom.
Yeah.
So
here's what worries me, though. The internet has been around since the early 90s, maybe even the late 80s when it first came into being. I'm not sure we've properly learned how to use that. I mean, obviously, we can use it for a lot of good, and there's a lot of communication pluses and all of that. There's also a lot of negatives on the internet. And how are we going to prevent that from happening with AI? Can we prevent it? You mentioned, Kevin, that AI figured out how to program itself so you couldn't shut it off.
Right.
How are we going to control AI in the future so it doesn't control us?
I hate to say it, but the same way we haven't controlled the internet. That's
We're headed right down the same tube.
I think there's always good and bad. There's always good to something that is new and innovative, and you can learn a lot. And there's always somebody that uses it for evil. I mean, war and pornography are the two things that technology drives. So you saw the drone attack in Russia and Ukraine, and how remarkable that is on inexpensive drones. And I'm sure AI was being used there. So we're going to see advances in the next 6 months to a year that we never even thought about. And I'm excited about new ways of learning. As you, Thomas, said, it's going to make professors actually challenge them to take critical thinking of the students to another level.
Have you had to rewrite your courses?
Yeah, I'm reworking every course that I teach, and so is partner and professor in another program, to do exactly that. Use AI, integrate AI, and get the learning and the critical thinking, as you, Tom, had mentioned, to a level where students are really challenged to challenge what is being provided by AI and change it, argue with it.
So, Dr. Atama, by the time your master's students get to you, do they have an understanding of AI and the uses of it?
Well, I think the most important thing is understanding what is the definition. How do we define AI, artificial intelligence? And we understand that it's the ability of machines to mimic human intelligence. And so the question is, what type of intelligence? So in terms of how we see, how we touch, how we speak, how we listen to things. So these are all attributes that can be programmed. So now every student understands the abilities, to react to the environment, and so graduate students as a whole do understand that it all starts with learning from data, recognizing patterns that exist, and making decisions. So how can we utilize data to make the right decision? So we can control AI for good by setting clear ethical standards, and these are the things that we teach our students. We teach them to be responsible in the use of these tools. So to your question, are they aware of the capabilities of AI? I would say to some extent. And in one of the classes that we have in the Masters of Science and Business Analytics here at Northwood, we teach students how to utilize AI in business. And we talk about the different workloads of AI, from computer vision to natural language processing to machine learning, and also conversational AI. And I think the buzzword today is all around generative AI, which I would say is a product of natural language processing and deep learning. So that's really what the general public is really talking about the most.
All right, hang on, both of you. I have to take a break, and then we'll be back. We're talking about artificial intelligence with our guests from Northwood. We will be back.
It could be the best year.
The programs that Utama mentioned have been around for quite a while. And now when you put them together and put in a large language model and put in the analytical capabilities, computers are so powerful now. It's changed everything, but data is still the key. And if you've got bad data, you've got bad decisions.
So then my question is, we expect, quote, our politicians to come up with legal language to put some restrictions and limitations on this. But am I correct in saying AI can be a political animal? It can be programmed with data for one side or programmed for data for the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just depends on the data.
Depends on who's programming it.
Yeah, right. I don't.
So, Dr. Otomo, what's the answer to that? Is there an answer?
Well, I agree with my colleague, garbage in, garbage out. And I think the key is all about the bias variance trade-off. And we seek accuracy. So how do we minimize bias in the design? So when we collect data, it's all about your research design or business design. So AI itself isn't, I would say, political on its own, but how it's designed, deployed, and regulated absolutely is. So the data it learns from reflects human biases, and decisions about its use often involve political values such as privacy, fairness, or national security. So I would say politicians need to step up with clear ethical policies first, and it's not just trying to blame AI for its end results.
The problem, as I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as we were talking about tools being misused, politicians can come up with all kinds of rules, regulations, and laws, but that doesn't stop people from misusing it, does it?
Well, there's two sides of every coin. There's good and evil, and people, they're all out there. So whoever gets a hold of it, whoever programs it, whoever pumps the right data in, you can make all the regulations you want. That's not going to prevent that. I mean, what are you going to do? Prosecute them?
So if we can program AI to do all kinds of things, can we build a super AI to control all the other AIs?
Yeah. I wish.
Not going to happen, huh?
Sorry. No. Not going to happen. Controlling AI, as Utama mentioned, it's how you program it and what biases you put in it, what data you feed it, and it's always going to be that way, just like the internet. It's right. What you punch on, can you believe everything on the internet? No way. How do you judge whether it's right or wrong? It's your own judgment.
So, Dr. Otomo, let me ask, was IBM's Watson a forerunner of AI to some degree?
Well, to some degree, we can say yes, but it depends on what it was. What do you mean by forerunner?
No, was it an early example of AI?
Yes, because it's, again, back to the definition, it was mimicking the way a particular way a human would react with environment. So yes.
So if we step beyond Watson, what is AI capable of today?
I think you go back to the 1985 or 86 film where Skynet has taken over and decided that human beings are the enemy. That's what it's capable of. And if you let it, if you connect it, I hate to say that, but...
Well, then you have to ask, how do we stop it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any Sarah Connor hanging around that's going to fight the big battle against Skynet, but I don't know, maybe Utama has an idea.
Well, I was just going to go back to IBM Watson, and I was just thinking about, yes, it's a pioneer, but especially it beat the human champions on Jeopardy. So that was awesome. But again, I think one of the problems we have is that we compare AI with humans, and I think that that's something that we should not necessarily do, because AI is a tool. It should not be compared with human as a whole in terms of human intelligence, because human intelligence is much deeper. And the tools that we design are more of narrow AI. I don't think we've really gone yet to super AI that controls other AI, but it's more focused on a particular concept to solve a particular problem. So take, for example, I would say I was saved by AI recently. I would have spent over $500 because I recently picked up a family member from the airport and I closed the trunk of the car and did not see any car behind me, and I was reversing, and suddenly my car just stopped on its own. I thought it actually hit the other car, but no, it was the AI in the car that saved me the damage of my own car and the damage of the other car. So
the question, I guess, we go back to the fear factor. It's the fear of the unknown. I mean, we know the good AI can do. It can provide us lots of information and quickly solve problems that might take us forever to solve. It's the misuse of it, and how do we control it? I go back to that question of how do we control this future artificial intelligence other than pulling the plug? Because the only way to disrupt it is pull the plug, unless, of course, it has its own battery storage internal, and then we end up not doing anything.
I hate to be the fly in the ointment.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't see a way to prevent AI from developing into all the applications that we see. And Itama mentioned a couple, and my wife bought a new car that has 5 cameras on it, and it decides where it's going. There's just, and regulations aren't going to do it. I don't know. I don't know how we stop bad people from doing bad things. I don't know. So it's another tool to do bad things by bad people.
No, we have to figure out how to figure out who the bad people are. And that's the trick. Doctor?
Yeah, to add to that, I would also say that it's all about education. Education is the greatest tool, as I said earlier, that we can use to make the world a better place. So we control AI through a mix of good design, strong governance, and constant oversight. It's definitely important. So that means setting clear ethical guidelines, using transparent data, building systems that explain their decisions. It also means involving policymakers, technologists, and the public to ensure AI aligns with human values, defining what human value really is. And these are the things that we need to really bring into the classroom when we're teaching the younger generation of how this tool should be effectively used. So controlling AI isn't just technical, it's social, it's legal, and ethical.
Yeah. All right, hang on. We'll take a break and come back. And we're talking to Dr. Itama Itama from Northwood University and also Professor Kevin McCormick from Northwood University. We'll be back with both of them after these notes.
Hello, I'm Shep. And
I use AI primarily to Google multiple sources. But I also want to let you know about an auto that's coming out. It's a Ford stripped-down car EV called Slate. Slate. They've got a website called Slate Auto. It has crank windows. It's just a stripped-down model, smaller truck. And I've got the specs up if you want to hear any of them.
Back to the basics.
Yes. And they will be manufacturing next year in Illinois. Michigan is involved. And Toyota is doing all the interior. So it's a stripped-down model. And right now, for $50, you can order one.
And, the question is, will it succeed?
Mm-hmm.
We all worry about AI and all that, but at the same time...
People are begging for stripped-down models that don't confuse them.
Yeah.
And here it is.
All right. Well, we'll look for it.
And I appreciate everything you're doing, and I appreciate the media. especially the radio.
Thank you.
PBS and you guys and Northwood. I love what you're doing.
Great,
Thank
Carol.
you.
Thank you. All right, guys. So let's talk about this for a minute. You can have a car that's stripped down, crank windows, basics, everything. Or you can have a car with artificial intelligence that will probably keep you safer, probably help you in your driving. Where are we going to go with it? What do you think?
I've got a real opinion on that. My wife and I have had that discussion for years. She bought a 2024 Honda CR-V with more electronic gadgets and stuff and I have a 2011 Honda Cross Tour that I've rebuilt. And if I could put in roll-down windows, I would. She's confused with the car. When we bought it, we're driving home, and she goes, "I got to fix this. I can't stand all this readout." So she got little black strips and put it on the dashboard to cover the lights that were giving her all this data that she didn't want, because I refused to reprogram it or do anything with it. So, okay, that's a solution, but we still have the 2024 Honda. It's still doing what it's doing.
Dr. Atama, what do you think is going to happen in the auto industry and what choices we'll make?
I think it only gets better. And by better, all this started a long time ago, over 10 years ago, when I had a professor from Stanford University, Sebastian Tron, was one of the pioneers that organized autonomous vehicle competitions over the years in order to, and so the goal was to have vehicles navigate the environment safely, take from one point to the other. And so these ideas have been tested for so many years to the point now we feel that the general public can also taste of these applications that can really save lives. So like we have cars that automatically brakes itself. I mentioned previously. I think that is fantastic, and also the fact that you have a car that can you don't have to, even though you can go handless, you still say you keep your hands on the steering, so that way you're always in control. But the most important thing is that you are sure that if there are objects on the way that you necessarily would not see, you're able to have what we classify today as a co-pilot. So we see AI as a co-pilot that can make the general public feel much safer.
Yeah. So, Kevin, what that means is you have to go home and teach your wife how to use all that electronic stuff.
Well, Tama makes me feel better anyway that I can drive her car safely. So,
the thing I found, I had an occasion a year or so ago to rent a Tesla for 2 days. I found, with all this talk about distracted driving, I found it very distracted. I liked the way the car drove. I did not like the fact that everything was on this huge screen in the middle of the car, and if you wanted anything, you had to go to that screen. I found that distracting. I'm old-fashioned, though. I like tactile buttons that I can feel and know where they are and press them, and it's a learning curve, isn't it? I mean, this whole thing with AI is a learning curve.
I think there's a lot of good things that can happen when you apply technology to automotive, for example, but I think we've gone over the top. And we have to come back a little bit, put some common sense in, and that's what they're doing. That's what always happens. I think the non-technology car is kind of an extreme, but that starts to appeal to me now. I wouldn't mind roll-down windows.
Well, you mentioned 2 words, common sense.
Yeah.
Can we build common sense into AI?
Maybe that's a question for Atama.
Doctor?
Yeah, I would agree with Kevin in terms of common sense. Now, the question is, what is common sense, and can we build common sense into AI? That's an interesting question. Now, AI brings major benefits, definitely, and let's go into, say, self-driving features of cars. So these already helps drivers stay in their lanes, avoid collisions, and park with ease. So when we talk about common sense, AI is getting better, but it still struggles with the kind of everyday reasoning humans do naturally. So we can train AI to recognize patterns, and I think by patterns we can say that's common sense, but true common sense involves context, emotion, and judgment. So that's still a frontier in AI research, I would say. So we might not be quite there yet, but we are getting closer.
All right, hang on, guys. One final break, and then we'll be back as we talk to our guests from Northwood University about artificial intelligence. We'll have another call for them, too.
It could be the best years of
Hi, we're back with you. We're talking to Kevin McCormick. He's a professor at Northwood, and Dr. Toma Atama, also at Northwood University. And we have Jeff with us in Bay City. Jeff, you're on with our guests. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate your time, guys. The AI movie, iRobot, the movie Terminator, the Age of Ultron, all hits on topics similar to how advanced AI could be. And that really scares the heck out of a person like myself who's not really into computers and different things. But when a computer rewrites its own program because you've already taught it how to decipher and how to innovate all on its own, touching on that, you've already gave it all of its own tools. And like you said, there's evil in the world. We already know this. The world has managed to survive for thousands and thousands of years all on its own and with humans. And now all of a sudden an advancement that could happen. And if you have the wrong person programming it, but when there's not even a person programming it, the benefit with cars, there is some pluses and then there's some minuses because people are lazy. They want to drive themselves, and then some people don't want to drive at all. They want to get in the car and they're going to hit the button and
let me interrupt here, Jeff, because we only got a couple of minutes left. I want to get an answer. Let me put it this way, guys. We all know that there's a lot of good we can learn from AI and how it's going to change the world. The big question is how to control the evil. How do we do that? Dr. Atama, you got an answer?
So we seem to be going around in a cycle from the very beginning, thinking about how we can use AI for good. And I want to say, Jeff.
Go ahead.
All right. So Jeff, I see where you're going to, and there's a lot of things to really consider when you watch the movies, like iRobot, Terminator, and there definitely some real concern. Now, what happens if AI becomes too powerful or is used by the wrong people? Now, when an AI can rewrite its own code, you're right. It becomes more unpredictable. But the key is we still set the boundaries in everything. So the human is always be in control. We design the rules. We decide who gets access. And we must build in off switches as well. So every tool is always that off switch. And these are the things that I personally experienced over the years when I did my graduate school in Istanbul, and I specialized in human-robot interactions, where we use humanoid robots. So we always have the goal of having humanoid robots that can be used as home to help the elderly. And one of the applications then was using humanoid robots to teach tool during the off-season, and that was a very big application.
I'm going to have to interrupt for time here. Jeff, thanks for your call. Appreciate it.